striking Spanish red, blue, and silver colors. So we did a pretty good job of matching it. The car body is definitely much different on a B32 than it is on an FL9. This was some of the process that we went through color matching. So that particular locomotive is at the Railroad Museum of England in Thomaston, Connecticut. And we really went an extra step to try our best to match colors and color codes with the actual colors from in some cases real life locomotives. So that was an engine room door that we removed off the side of the locomotive. We buffed and cleaned up the paint surface on that, and then we actually digitally scanned the colors off that door to better match the blue and the red.
All right, and again, this was the first locomotive that we wrapped. So, Gio, do you want to talk about some of the challenges, or was it pretty easy, just like putting wallpaper on the wall? Or?
No, nothing's ever easy. This is what I see. All I get is a piece of paper, and they tell me get it done. It's the first one, of course, was the most challenging one, I would say, because it was a huge learning curve on what we needed to do, what we needed to paint, and how to apply the wrap, how to schedule everything. So it was a little bit challenging. As we progressed, it got a little bit easier, but they're still a challenge.
All right. So do we want to tell the group about the changes to the nose? I'm not sure if everybody's aware of that.
So one of the things that Jeff didn't mention is one of the benefits of wrapping is the repair work is it's a quicker turnaround. For example, if I was to paint 3 different colors as that one is, it takes me about 2 days to paint. 1 day to paint, 1 day to cure, then I have to mask everything off. That's an entire day. So it would take me a few weeks just to get all those colors sprayed. If we're doing repair work on one specific color, we're talking about probably 2 to 3 weeks for me to repair that. On this locomotive, as you can see from one of the pictures on the right, it wasn't like the picture was supposed to be. So we ended up bringing it back in a few months later to do all the repair work to make it look like the drawing. And that got done within a week. Prior to if we were painting that, it would have taken me 2 to 3 weeks to do.
Much easier.
So a show of hands in the crowd, how many people knew there was 2 different 208s on there? All right.
Yeah, I think somebody in the audience here actually posted a picture on Facebook, and someone was like, "Oh, the nose, it got Michael Jackson," or something like that.
I think that's an important thing, though, because it really shows the attention and detail that Gio and his team take when they're putting these locomotives together. Right? A lot of people, a lot of railroads would have just said, "Good enough, right? The paint's close enough," but not a Metro North, right? We come back, we fix it, make sure that it's as good as it can possibly be. So tribute to the work that Gio and his team do.
Most definitely. And so for those that love getting out and taking photos, if you took a photo of the initial run, you need to get back out there and take another photo because there's a whole different 208 out.
Looks much better.
All right, so let's move on to the next one, 201. So why was the Conrail selected for 201? And you want to take this?
So, thank you, Justin. The 201, I mean, basically we were looking at which ones we're going to do for the 2023, for the anniversary. And we definitely wanted to pay tribute to Conrail. They are our immediate predecessor railroad to Metro North. So to make sure that we did this right, we wanted to get a license agreement with Conrail Shared Assets. So we got our MTA legal department involved. We reached out to Conrail. They were really enthusiastic and supportive of the project. So it was relatively easy with getting the attorneys together. They hammered the agreement out, and they went to Kathy Rinaldi's test for signature in March of 2023. So it just kind of made sense for us to kind of, using that energy to get the license agreement signed to continue forward from there.
And then why blue and yellow?
So the blue and yellow, so the blue is the Conrail corporate blue scheme. The yellow really reflects upon the previous locomotive, which was the Penn Central, as you see there. Okay, and so the Penn Central scheme, we chose the blue and the gold of Penn Penn Central, that was the one that made the most sense for us as a scheme that was applied for commuter service in our area. As we understand it, the state of New York and MTA contributed funding to that part of the project back in the day. So that was really what kind of put us down that path of using that particular scheme for that locomotive.
All right, so anything more on the Penn Central you want to add, Emily?
No, not really. I mean, the blue and yellow was kind of the pick that we really wanted to do. I mean, because otherwise it was pretty much just the black Penn Central, and I think that's probably why New York State paid them some money to like paint them, because who likes like just a plain black locomotive? Now, there's probably someone here that I offended by saying that. I'm not a fan, so.
Norfolk Southern Farmers.
But a lot of it had to do with the New York State colors as well, right?
Yes, exactly. Actually, one more point if I could make, with the Conrail, both the Conrail and the Penn Central and the New York Central, so we had help from various railroad historical societies and making sure that the logos were accurate, the colors were accurate. So the Conrail Historical Society, they assisted us with the Conrail 201. We want to thank the Penn Central Historical Society for their assistance with providing the drawings for the logos for 217. And then moving forward, when we did the 211, we utilized the New York Central Historical Society. They provided us drawings for that scheme as well too.
All right, so the next locomotive we're going to talk about is a fan favorite, the 211. I think everybody loves this one, right? All right, so who wants to talk about this one? Andy?
So the 211, you know, the New York Central Lightning striped colors, it's an iconic scheme, right? I mean, these locomotives, they pulled the 20th Century Limited, you know, one of the most famous trains in the 1940s and 50s. You know, so this scheme is really, it's an iconic scheme. We applied it to two FL9s back in 2000. So it just made sense to go with the lightning stripe colors and logo and layout of that. And as you see here, this is the drawing that was provided by the New York Central Historical Society. You know, we adapted that scheme to the 211. This is the slide I was going to refer to. So this is actually, in this picture here, is the 201. And one of the things that I was really kind of concerned about was the layout of the lightning stripes on the nose, okay, because that was a big deal. You know, this is not an F unit or an E unit, it's a P32, and it's a completely different car body than compared to those other locomotives. So I made it clear to the decal company that we wanted to try our best to make sure that those stripes would blend down into the nose and kind of carry on the same design pattern as what was on the other locomotives historically. So their graphic designer, he actually came out to the property. He had these temporary decals. He put them on the side of the 201, and then as you can see, he actually drew in the striping to kind of match the striping on between the two decals. He then pulled that off as one single decal, and then took it back to his office to digitally scan, and that's how we matched up the striping correctly on the locomotive. So it really came out better than I expected. So I was very pleased with how that came out. A little word about the color matching. So we tried two different sources. We tried initially to actually match the colors off of one of the FL lines at the Railroad Museum. That was not quite as successful as I had hoped. But then when I contacted the United Railway Historical Society, who owns Hickory Creek, as you see in this picture here, they had chips. That's actually a section of the thing that was Bondo, right? Was that Bondo that popped off the side of the car? And he says, "Oh, Andy, I got the chips off the side of the Hickory Creek. Great, I'll come down and pick them up." So I drove down to New Jersey to go pick up those chips. And I had geo-scanned the chips for the paint cards, as you see there, and then I also sent them to the decal company, and they scanned the chips as well. So that's how we matched the colors for the two.
Andy does have a rubber job, just in case you're wondering.
I was definitely wondering. All right, so Gio, we're a few locomotives in right now, right? So are we learning anything? Is it getting easier? Are you changing your technique at all?
I'm adjusting the process a little bit. After the first 2 locomotives, we learned some little tips, especially from installers, on how to prep the surfaces better for better adhesion. So we began doing that, and I began to also add to it. There's certain areas where we weren't touching before that I say, you know what, a little nicer if we do this, and nicer if we do that. So I began to do little things like that. Yeah, it's. I don't know if it gets a little easier. I start to add a lot more things to the band now.
So like any good artist, they start leaving little gems in their work. So I don't know, Drew, you want to start talking about what some of those might be?
Yeah, I look at the drawing, I go back and forth with Andy. Hey, you want to do this, you want to do that? He'll say yes, and if he says no, I'll still do it anyway. And when he comes to see it, he goes, oh man, that looks really good. On the 211, that was the first one where we painted the plow to paint match that. When we were looking at the drawing, and he said, hey, you could be able to paint the front plow, and I said, yeah, we can do that. So that was the first one where we did that on that we were pretty successful with.
All right, very good. And then Emily, you want to talk about the time lapse?
Yeah, so before I had started doing a lot of the graphic design for this project, I was documenting a lot of his work. So most of these photos are photos that I've taken, and we thought that for this locomotive, it would be really awesome to basically set up a camera and do a time lapse to see the locomotive getting wrapped. So I have that for you here. So pretty much, when you see those diagrams of each of the designs of the locomotive, you'll see that there are little slices, and that's pretty much how the wrap is installed. It's basically slices rolled up that get put along the side of, I guess Jeff said, a wallpaper. And there's like a little bit of an overlap of maybe like an inch or half an inch, depending which the seats are then sealed.
Was that fast and
So obviously this was a fan favorite locomotive, and a lot of people came out to the inaugural run of this locomotive, and this is probably one of the favorite photos that I took that day. That is one of our training officers at Metro North who does conductor training, who happened to have a authentic Beer Central uniform, and he was joking with me. He's like, I'm gonna show up in the uniform, and I'm like, yeah, you really should. Like, it'd be awesome. So he did actually do it. So.
All right, and there's another photo of the 211. So let's move on to my favorite now, the 214 employee tribute. So Emily and myself spent a lot of time talking about this, discussing the different ideas. So I think this is her baby, so I'm gonna let her take this.
So I think I was not at Metro North when it started this program, and I know that Andy had asked Andy Fletcher to do a drawing for an employee locomotive, and I think it became pretty obvious that he just didn't have enough insight to really do that, and he was better with the historical locomotives. So when I came to Metro North, Andy asked me to try and design an employee locomotive. And there were a lot of designs that we rejected, but I knew that there were like some things that I really wanted to try and focus on. A lot of locomotives are the same on both sides, so I decided that I really wanted it to be different on both sides. So this is actually one of the reject designs, and if you recognize the color, it's century green. I really wanted to do something in century green, but we did not do that. And this sort of highlights some of the the thought progression of where we eventually did actually go with 214. So the sort of city and country sort of look on both sides and different on both sides. But this was another one that we rejected.
Been interesting.
And now once we get into we're gonna do a mosaic, so we decided on that, and I showed this to Justin. I thought it would be awesome. Let's do one that's red on one side and blue on the other side. And he looked at me and he said, absolutely not. And we got recorded for posterity. Like, I'm literally pointing at it there, and he's just like, no, we're not doing that.
That engine looks like my shower settings, you know? Change color.
So you're welcome.
Yeah.
So actually, if you recognize the front of the design, it looks like the original design that the P32s were delivered to Metro North in.
Yep.
And so that was the original thought, that we were going to do the wrap to look like that. But as we sort of experimented with the mosaic, it sort of became obvious that the darker color was better for that. So we ended up flip-flopping it, so it's sort of a reverse of what that original design was. But ultimately, it sort of became a little bit of a blend of the two designs that we've had on the P32. So we actually incorporated the red stripe. And if you look at the slide before, the initial thought was that there was just going to be like a white line separating the two sides. And Andy told me, no, let's not, have to mask one of the grills and like put a line through it. So I was trying to think, well, what can we do instead? And then we actually have Cesar Vergara in the room, who was the industrial designer that created that paint scheme and like the body of the P32 locomotive. And he always seems to incorporate these like red swoops into like some of his designs. So I just sort of decided to incorporate it as well, and I called it the Caesar solution for like working on the design. So. And he doesn't know this story, so this is the first time he's hearing it. So once we decided that we were going to do a mosaic, I definitely didn't want to do the photos that came from everybody's passes. There are some airlines actually that have done something sort of similar with pictures of employees, and they use the ID pass photos, and it looks like a bunch of mugshots all over the side of the plane. And I'm like, no, we want to get photos of people in their element doing their job, like representing Metro North and what we do here. So initially, we put out a call for people to send in their own photos. Which went okay, but not as well as we had hoped. So I knew it was going to be a lot of work, but it ended up being a lot more work than I thought. So we actually worked with the Transit Museum, and they have the Frank English Archive, which, if you're not familiar, Frank was Metro North's photographer from 1984 to 2010, I believe. And he took a lot of photos of employees, and then I ended up adding to that. So these are all photos that I took of employees. I ended up going to pretty much every major Metro North facility and like conned people into getting their photo taken. And so we ended up filling out the rest of the locomotive because I knew that we needed to get at least like 2,000-ish photos in order to make the mosaic work, to be able to show the logos and stuff like that. So we were just trying to shoot for that number, basically. And so these are some of the mosaics that didn't actually make it. The top one, the station that's up there, does anyone recognize that? Did someone say Cannondale? Thank you very much. Because when I showed it to these guys, nobody recognized it. And everyone's like, no, we cannot have this. So that was actually one of the reasons why we changed it, because nobody could recognize it. But thank you. I'm But the second one sort of shows how we tried to incorporate images into the mosaic, and it was actually harder than you would think to get it to actually show. So that looks like absolutely nothing there, but we were trying different images to try and see what would be, you know, iconic enough to sort of stand out. And then the last one there, when we decided that we were going to do a lighthouse to represent the New Haven line, we were playing around with different lighthouses, and so that one is all black and it doesn't really show as well. So we picked the one that's in Bridgeport that is like white and black alternating, so it showed a little bit better, you know, being rendered in this mosaic format. And so that is basically the drawing that the wrap company basically sends us. So you know, all the slices and how they're installed basically in wrap. And this is actually at the company that does the wraps for us. And this is one of the long sheets that they printed out for this wrap. So it was actually a challenge for them. It was something that they had never really done before, because if you're familiar with printing, usually you try and print images at 300 DPI, so they look really crisp and everything. And because a lot of these locomotives are seen from far away, they can get by with doing some of the art at as low as 50 DPI. And the problem was you can't do the photos at such a lower quality, because people want to see it close up and they want to see it from far away. So like, we had to do a lot of work with them, and they tried a lot of things, and ultimately it did get printed pretty well, and everybody was able to basically come up to the side of the locomotive and look at their picture, and that was another aspect of this, that if we were going to put everyone's picture on the side of the locomotive, I figured everyone was going to want to know where their picture was so they could go and find it. So there was a lot of work actually in the background. Yes, it's White Plains.
It originally looked like a fish, though.
Yeah, there were a lot of meetings where we tried to get people to figure out what the image on the mosaic was, and nobody really knew what a lot of them were, but it's like Clock Tower, White Plains, yay. So that's just what
So one of the things that I'd add about this particular locomotive is that it not only does it represent current employees, it also represents people from the beginning of Metro North. So it's all of the employees who built Metro North and who continue to maintain what we know today as Metro North. So as an employee, I have 32 years of Metro North. There are people on the locomotive who are actually deceased, and that was really kind of a wow. When I saw that, it was kind of like, this is an employee tribute, right, to the people who built the railroad, right? So that's what makes it special.
And we owe a lot of thanks to the Transit Museum for that, because a lot of those really old photos did come from their archives, and they scanned all those slides that Frank English had taken, and we used a lot of them